Have you ever wanted to improve your shot grouping for competition or for training? Well, tonight we talk about the top 5 upgrades you can do to your gun to improve your shots. Coming right up. What's up, folks? What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? It's good to see everybody. We are back. It's been a couple of weeks, man, and I'm excited to be here with you guys. And we're talking about, oh man, some we're talking about upgrades, but we're not talking about customizing upgrades, and we'll get a little bit into that, like I just said. But before we get into all of that, I wanted to say welcome to everyone who's watching. Of course, we have the usual suspects up in the chat. We'll get to you guys in a second. But if you're new watching this, or if you're watching the replay, we wanted to thank you for being here. You could be anywhere on a Tuesday night or whenever you're watching this, but you decided to watch this, and we really, really appreciate it. So here's the thing. If you're here live and you're in the chat, or you're just sitting back, relaxing, watching the chat, if you have any questions while we're talking, go ahead and post it up in the chat. And if it's a question for us here on the screen, preface your question with 4 question marks so we know exactly that you are speaking to us. However, if you do have a question for the tribe in the chat, then just go ahead and post your question. They'll be happy to answer. Everyone there is very, very, very helpful, and we appreciate them being here. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So as I said in the intro, and as it says in the title, we're talking about the top 5 upgrades you can do to your gun to improve your shot. Now, most people, we talk a lot about, man, I guess I'm wet. I went outside. Anyway, we do a lot of talk about building guns and everything, and that's kind of what we're talking about today. But these top 5 that I'm talking about can be done to any gun, whether you built it yourself, whether you bought it as manufacturers. If it's possible to upgrade in the way that we're talking about today, most guns are, some are not. But if it is possible to upgrade and you want to improve your shots, these are some of the things you can do to the gun. We'll talk about some of the other things later that don't involve your gun that you might be able to improve upon. But before we get started, we want to bring the one and only Mr. Hawkeye onto the stage. What's going on, Mr. Hawkeye? Hey, where you at? There you are.
Hey guys,
What's going on, Hawk, man?
happy
How
birthday,
you been?
Playboy.
Playboy, happy birthday, my man. Yeah, Sarge, we'll get to
I
that.
just turned 39 myself, so we got something in common. It's the mileage.
Yeah, by the way, it's your birthday. Happy birthday, big man. And since we talking about who's in the chat, we got Darth Dav here today. Of course, we got Ancient Order. Happy birthday, sir, to Mr. Playboy. Hawkeye, he's here, of course. And we have Mr. Vino, who's here with us, and Angry Sarge. Angry Sarge, yes, sir. Absolutely. We'll talk about that in a few because that's definitely on the list. But anyway, is it just you or is the sound messed up? It may be me because my internet has been kind of wonky even since the last broadcast. So if it's just me that's sounding crazy, let me know. If it's me and Hawkeye, Sarge says it sounds good on his end. We don't have Mr. Nas this week, and we don't have Weapon XYZ. He is at work. They're actually both at work, so they're doing what they have to do to take care of the family, and that's by any means the most important thing is to take care of the family, about whichever way you have to do that. So it's just me and Mr. Hawkeye tonight talking about the top 5 things that give me a second. I got to load up my slides here. Here we go. We're going to talk about the top 5 upgrades to improve your shot. Hawkeye, what do you normally do to not so much improve your shots, but improve your, I guess, your accuracy on your weapons? Give me your top 1 other than training.
First thing I ever done in shooting, like now I build and stuff, but back when I would go to the local clubs and I'd shoot, the first thing I would ever do would upgrade my sights.
Okay.
Usually, sights for concealed carry or the low profile. They're designed not to hang up in a holster and all that. But that's not what I needed, because I shot. You stood at the line and you shot bulls, and that was completely accuracy type shooting. And for that, you need a good sight. So that was what I did mostly on like my 38 that I used to shoot. On my 45, I did upgrade the sights, and I did upgrade the trigger system on it, and I also tightened up the slide on it, and that all helped tighten up my group and my shooting. But those were all factory guns. There's a lot of stuff you can do on these guns now because we know how to build them. We're building them, so the changes that you make to them are nowhere near as cumbersome as back in the day when you didn't have as many options.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of aftermarket parts for most of the guns that you can upgrade. Of course, there's some guns out there that you don't want to upgrade because they come, you know, almost perfect. You know what I mean? And for the price that you pay for them, like your staccatos and your 1911s and the rate top tier race guns, $4,000 or $5,000, alien wear and all of those. They shouldn't even be. I mean, of course, you can upgrade just about anything, but you shouldn't have to, because the price tag on those should dictate that everything is absolutely impeccable.
Right. And the reason I did so much work on my 1911, it was made in 1917. It had some wore out parts, and tighten it up. I tightened the slide up twice from shooting it because it was shot a lot before I got it. I never did change out the barrel, which would have probably been a good idea. But these are things that help your gun. The thing to look for is, if you want to improve your shot, there's a lot of other important things to do. But as far as zeroing in on just the firearm, you need to look for war parts. You need to look at your barrel, make sure it's not letting up. Let it up barrel will really mess up your accuracy. Any kind of burrs or anything in the trigger mechanism, or the way a hammer would fall. These are all things you need to look for. But basically, if you buy a gun, it should shoot right out of the box better than you're ever going to shoot it for a long time. That's just the way I feel.
Yeah,
a lot of the upgrades you do to a pistol or a rifle are going to be more confidence building for you than it is accuracy for the pistol or the rifle.
Okay. I can agree with that, and we'll definitely get into that confidence side of things once we get lower in our list. But let's talk about the first thing that I put here, and honestly, these could be put in any order depending on who you are. I just put them in reverse order, just by my mind of the order of importance, because if it's number 5, like number 5 here, you're stippling. All right, you're stippling. Some people would put this lower down on the list or higher on the list, because if your grip isn't right, your shot may be off. I mean, I see it every week in class when people, the grip isn't right, and just before they shoot, the gun shifts in their hand and they get a flyer left or right. So, but stippling, custom stippling. Now, most people, they do custom stippling for the aesthetic of it. And to a certain extent, I would agree. However, that same stippling could help you keep a nice purchase on the gun, because a lot of the factory grips that come, your Smith and Wessons or your Glocks or whatever, it's because people are going to use it for everyday carry or concealed carry. They try not to have it be so abrasive,
right?
Because it's going to be either against your skin, or it may, poke through your shirt. Like me, I always wear an undershirt anyway, so I'm not really worried about it rubbing on my skin. But not everybody's like that.
The thing about it is, if you sweat or it gets wet, they become slippery.
Yeah, absolutely.
that's why the stippling that you would do on your P80s and stuff is really a better grip for you, because even if those get wet, you can still grip them pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
Now on factory guns like the 1911, I used it a lot in time matches, and so you were grabbing it and shooting, grabbing it, that kind of holstering it and pulling it out. I always like putting a rubber grip over those. It just made it easier to grip for me for the type of shooting I was doing. So that
Yeah,
could be something you could look at too. But the thing
yeah.
about putting those rubber pull-on grips, they do have a tendency to rock out or to slip off.
Or the whole
Uh,
grips type
yeah,
things.
like if you're
Yeah.
shooting multiple rounds over and over, it has a tendency to move on the pistol itself. So you're not holding it as accurate as one that is they stippled into it that's not moving.
Yeah, yeah. And I've been carrying spare change here for the last week or so, and I do notice that when I go to the range and I pull it out to shoot it, it is a little more slippery because I haven't done the stipple job on it yet. So that's definitely going to be getting done. So and again, this might be further up the list for anyone. It just seemed the minimal one for myself. How about you?
I never did fool with stippling until I started building these P80s.
Hmm.
Uh, I just
Me either.
just go with factory stuff mostly, because most of the stuff I was doing was just carrying it, and
Hmm.
I didn't want to put a lot of money in something that I was going to get beat around in the truck or pull out and just start shooting all the time. Uh,
Yeah.
but I'm a little more particular with my custom builds. I like a good stipple. I like a good grip on them.
Yeah, same here. Now, Blade Boy says he changed his recoil spring, and it helped him with his G26 shooter. I don't have a G26. You have a G26, don't you?
Mine's a 22.
Oh, yours is 22. Okay.
I got one
Um,
in the works that I don't know if I'll build it this year, but I got the stuff to build one, and I was gonna. I haven't decided on how I'm going to build it yet, but I got all the parts, slides, and everything.
yeah, recoil springs can definitely help because depending on how that slide is reciprocating and how fast you can get back on target and all of those
Yeah,
things make
but
definitely make a
if you're going
difference.
to start playing around with your recoil spring, you need to watch your ammo. If you got a recoil spring that works with a certain ammo, stick with it. If you start swapping ammo around, you may find out that recoil spring is either too light or too heavy. Uh, that's something you got to match with
Mhm.
your ammo.
Yeah, I seen that. I tend to go with the Glock OEM and just run that until
Yeah,
the thing snaps. I've had one snap on me because it's polymer. It's made out of polymer with a spring on it, so it's
yeah.
expected that
I
at some point it's going to give way.
I usually
But
get rid of those and go with a stainless steel.
yeah, I got one build in there. I'm going to put stainless steel in, but I haven't used stainless steel just yet. I'm looking forward to it, but I haven't yet. I
Yeah,
have a G17 stainless steel guy rod in there. I'm putting in my newest build. But anyway, let's move on to the next. Is number 4 is the magwell. Now, some people would say, "What do you need a magwell for?" However, if you're shooting competition, or even if you think you might have a problem, using your magwell to get loaded faster can definitely help you get on target faster, and it also helps with your grip. In my particular case, when because you have the magwell that pops out at the bottom a little bit, and it can help you gain a lot of higher purchase on the grip, especially if you use something with a smaller grip like a G19 or a
yeah,
G26.
yeah.
Uh, Help you put that pinky on there, because I know me with big hands. Um,
Right.
trying to get around the bottom of a G26 is I'm just
Yeah,
using 3 fingers.
yeah. I can't do that. I got to have a magwell on them. I like the magwell because my big hand, it helps push it up, like you said, because I like to get up on my pistol. So
Yeah.
I'm shooting down more than, and it also helps keep your hand from moving on your pistol. And then, like you said, if you're in a competition where you're changing out magma and you can just flop them in there.
Mm-hmm.
It's
And
a plus.
some of them, like the one in the bottom right picture, it's just there for looks, really, because there's nothing there, or looks, or to get that purchase on the hand,
Right.
to be able to get that pinky on there, because there's this
That,
particular one is a Killer Innovations, and it's just sitting around the frame. It doesn't help with the mag going in per se, like the one on the left that's by Lock Grips, that's a little flared out more, and you can definitely get that one loaded a lot faster, just like with the race gun that's in the top right hand corner.
yeah. My two main reasons is the grip. It holds my hand in place, doesn't let it slip down. And the second reason is I like aluminum mag wells. They add that extra weight. I like using the stainless steel guide rods and the aluminum mag wells. I like putting as much weight in that bottom to balance the top. If you understand what I'm saying,
Yeah,
because the frame is so light, your pistol has a tendency to be top heavy, and you need to distribute that weight out. And that's why I like using that aluminum mag well. It helps distribute that weight more balanced. It's not real balance, but it's a little bit to help out. And I noticed you can get those plugs and put in there that help out with the weight. I've never tried those, but it makes a lot of sense.
They do sell weighted plugs that you can put in some of the Glock OEMs. And I think I'm not sure, don't quote me on it, but they may even have some out there that go into the P80s that screw in the back, but you put the plug underneath. So, but yeah, I mean, weight is definitely a thing, because I know I shot one of the guys at the range. He bought, one of the range officers, he bought his he bought his X5 Legion in, and it was the first time I held one that had the weights in it. It wasn't the tungsten infused one, but it had the weight in the back of it, and I haven't put the weight in mine. But when I felt it, I mean, it shot so flat, and it was just easier to handle. That weight felt so good in it versus just having the weight from the magazine. Like Ancient Order just said, try a 33 round mag for extra weight. Yeah, that'll be some extra weight for sure.
Until you run out of ammo.
That'll be some extra weight. You get arrested carrying those here. We have a 20 round mag capacity rule here. People think that Virginia don't have a mag cap law, but we do. It's just 20, not 10, like some of the other places.
Yeah. Why carry 130 something when you can carry 220s?
Yeah.
No
well,
sense.
you can't put the weight of 220s in at the same time.
Yeah.
Unless you strap them together. That's what I want to see.
But I think I saw a picture of somebody doing that. You know how they do the ARs mags, and they'll have them together.
Yeah.
They had one upside down, and they could do, and they could flip it around.
Flip it over. Yeah. Well, let's move on to number three. Number three. Now, this is a big issue that I'm dealing with right now with the daggers. But changing the trigger or the trigger shoe, that's huge. Just depending on what you're carrying. I mean, you could have, like you see, you can do 1911, 2011s. Again, unless you built your 2011, if you paid $2,000 or $1,500 for a 1911 or 2011, you shouldn't have to change the trigger unless you just want to for cosmetic reasons. As you see, they come in multiple colors. And then again, if you're running competition, you might want to upgrade, because that extra millisecond that this trigger will give you versus the other trigger is worth it. Especially if you're competing for big time. But then we deal with a lot of Glocks. So the Glock performance trigger, I kid you not, I'm going to get that thing in a build within the next couple of weeks. I've just been so busy with dealing with the new situation with training. But I hear good things about the Glock Performance trigger. Now it'll take some modification for the Gen 3 frame, but it's doable. But what's your outlook on, I know you do different trigger shoes.
Yeah, you guys got me into that, playing around with trigger shoes. I've run into a problem with the Lone Wolf. It's got such a narrow trigger guard on it that some of the shoes, like the Tyrant, I've been getting that Tyrant finger blaster. It won't work in there because it's too long. It comes down and hits the guard.
Wow.
And I believe I tried using that Serpico in there, and it wouldn't work. And I went back and I put in the stock trigger. It seems to be working. I'm going to go out and test it next chance I get. But I've had all kinds of problems with that Lone Wolf getting a trigger system in there. I don't know what the deal is, but what I've noticed is the biggest part is the trigger guard is smaller. So the length of your trigger shoe makes it different. And another thing with some of the trigger shoes I've tried is the trigger shoe safety. On some of them, they won't reset. And some of them, they're so far away from the frame that they're useless, really, for safety.
I've never run into that problem.
And
of course, I haven't tried a lot of different shoes. You know me, I'm partial to Ranger Proof, but
this is what's got me confused is this Lone Wolf that I've done this to. I had it set up as a 22, and man, it shot great. Everything, trigger was fine and all that. I took it apart, did this custom work on it, put it back together. It shot fine. I changed out the shoe, and I've had nothing but problems ever since I changed that shoe out. And I've changed the shoe out 3 times with 3 different shoes, and I'm still getting the mushy trigger, or it won't reset the safety, or the trigger catches on the bottom.
And what did you do? It was working fine before you did something. What did you do? Just take it apart?
Yeah, I took it apart. I custom it, and I changed the shoe out and put it all back together as my 22. It's that tribal 22 that's white and black. Right. That's why you haven't seen too much of it. I haven't got it up to par yet.
Right.
But now, the one I built just with it, which is a P80 in it with a 22 slide on it, and I did, shined it up and did the tribal stuff on it, and I put one of those finger blasters on there. Man, it's nice. I like shooting it. It just looks good. I hate getting it dirty.
Interesting. I'm going through.
I have never had a trouble changing out shoes on P80s. They got a nice big trigger guard, and they just, I don't know. It's just like the videos. Knock the little pins out, change the shoe out, put it back in there. It works.
Yeah, I think I realized what the problem is, and I've been meaning to post it up into the forum. I just haven't had an opportunity to get it in there because I've been fine-tuning my findings. But with the dagger, the frame, I'm not sure where the frame is different from the P80s and from the stock Glock. But if you use anything, and this is just me comparing it to the Ranger Proof, and even Ranger Proof has a disclaimer on their page that says their shoes won't work with the daggers because it won't make it messes with the drop safety. And if this makes any sense, the function, the modification that helps with the over travel, okay, it's keeping it in the dagger frame from the crucifix sitting on the shelf in the trigger housing. So while the trigger safety works, and it definitely works with the firing pin safety, the drop safety won't sit on the shelf. So if you use a armorer's plate and then you use a roll pin punch. You can slide it in there and you can push it down and it fires. So, which shouldn't happen, because if it's sitting on the shelf, you shouldn't be able to push the crucifix down. So that over travel feature, or the lack thereof, is what keeps the trigger bar from fully traveling. So I'm going to put pictures on. It's kind of confusing to try to explain, which is why I haven't posted it yet, because I'm trying to make sure the words, because I haven't done a video on it. So it's just pictures. But I'm trying to find a trigger shoe. I only say that to say I'm trying to find a trigger shoe that does not have the over travel already built into the shoe. And unfortunately, when you shop for a shoe online, they don't show you the back of the shoe, which is where you can see it. All right. So it'll be posted up in the forum probably tomorrow. Blade Boy says CMC safety won't reach on double stack or single stack polymer 80. Huh. Interesting. All right. Well, it's something, that's why it's called building, because we have to go through trial and error with this. And I'm going to find out if the Ranger Proof, the Vex, works with the Glock Performance trigger, because I have that all set up. I polished the trigger bar the other day, so I just have to put it back together and then drop it into a frame. But of course, there's people out there that love Tibney, and Overwatch Precision makes a nice trigger shoe for Smith & Wesson. So, and then of course you have the upgrade for the 6 Sauer trigger, which that works out freaking standing. I got the upgraded trigger kit with my Agency Arms trigger shoe for my 6 Sauer, and that's just ridiculous. It's virtually 1/8 of an inch, if that, take up, and then the it's about between 2.5 and 3 pound trigger pull. It's just sick. But drop safety is all good too. So anyway, let's move on to number 2. Let's go back. Hold on. Number 2, a comp. Now, a lot of people don't think they need comps, and that's okay. Most people don't need comps. However, if you're the person that's trying to improve your shot to get back on target faster, especially if you're in competition, time is your enemy. All right. But it can be your friend if you have the right tools. So as you see, Strike Industries, they have the mass driver or the micro. They have several micros. That's just one of them. I wasn't going to put all of their micros up here, but they have the mass comp driver, which I own. I own the mass comp driver for the G19. And then you have the Killer Innovations. They just came out with their Velocity Pro tucked comp for the SIG. I'm glad they came out with that, because I have 3 SIG grip modules, and I was about to modify one to be able to tuck the regular one. I was going to try it anyway. It might not have worked, but I was going to try it. But I'm glad they came out with the tucked one. So, Hawkeye, you ever use any comps on any of your builds?
My earlier builds had some comps on them, but I really didn't notice much difference. Just sitting here thinking about what you were talking about, what's the weight difference between, say, a stainless steel recoil spring and a comp? Are they pretty close to the same weight?
Most comps, depending on the size, have some weight to them. Between the weight and again, the only one I have direct experience with on my guns is the mass driver. However, I have shot shadow systems at the job that came with the comp on it, and I mean, they shoot flat. The extra weight between that and I run lights on everything, so between that, I mean, you can get right on target right away.
And how would that compare to, say, a ported barrel?
I can't say that I feel any difference, honestly.
That's what I noticed with them. I after I built a couple of them, I kind of went towards the ported barrel. The only drawback to the ported barrel is it dirties a gun up really bad.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, that's really the only experience I've had with. I think two. I used to have more of them, and I took them off.
I
I
can't
just
say that I've had any major problems since I changed my grip.
no, no. I think that it would make a big difference on the ammo you shot through one too. Like I shoot lightweight ammo in all my guns.
Mhm.
That I can control the recoil better, and I'm shooting a target. So, but I would say if you're shooting a good heavy load, that would really help out a lot.
Now, Ancient Order says that if you want more weight, to get a tungsten RSA,
Yeah,
um,
they're
which
pricey though.
obviously, yeah, yeah, no doubt. Obviously, tungsten is a heavier metal when it comes to either steel or aluminum. But um, let's see, Rogue Gunworks, Cali Comp, previously Mayhem Syndicate. Okay, um, that's
I know
another one.
the
Absolutely,
comps look really cool. They really
yeah,
do.
and
Especially
I'm definitely.
here's a something that really bugs me is when people put a comp on that doesn't match the slide. If you know what I'm talking about, the slide
Yeah,
will
it's
have an
the
edge that
lines. The
comes
lines don't match.
right.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
to me that's the first thing I see when I'm looking at a gun, and it just throws the whole build off when that happens. For
Well,
me,
I can tell you the next two comps that are in my future: the Ramjet barrel and afterburner comp. That's definitely in my future. I have the build waiting in there, but it's further down the list. But also Parker Mountain machine, the P320 Ultra JTTC, the dual. Definitely want that. That's for that barrel and comp is $355 just for the barrel and comp. And it is to use that comp, you have to use their barrel. It's the same as the Ramjet barrel with the afterburner comp. It's like the only way to use that comp is with that afterburner barrel because that's how it's set up to run together. Because that's more of a ported barrel. It's not a threaded. And the same thing with the Parker Mountain machine. They're not threaded, as far as I know. They do make a threaded version, just not for the JTTC. And if Sarge is here, he may know a little bit more about that. I believe he might have a Parker Mountain machine comp on one of his builds. But yeah, they look great. I hear they work great. Like I said, the mash driver works wonderful. And I wanted a Killer Innovations, but I don't know. Too many people got it. You know me. I like to be original as possible anyway, as much as possible. Yeah, see, Sarge, how's that Parker Mountain machine work out for you, Sarge? I knew I had saw one of your builds, but yeah, they I heard they work really really well. Oh, you have the Radiant too? How'd you like that, dude? I didn't know you had one of those. I definitely got to get one of those, a set of those. Yes, the Ramjet barrel and afterburner comp is Cali legal, and I believe Parker Mountain is too, but don't quote me on that one. So, but anyway, it's 10:37, so we're gonna move on to number one. Now, number one, like Hawkeye said, let's go back. Angry Sarge says it's nice, but I have a comp video coming soon. All right, cool. I look forward to seeing that comp video, dude. Yeah, Blade Boy, the Ramjet barrel is an afterburner is California friendly. Cool. I look forward to seeing that video, Sarge. All right, so sights and optics. So for me, an optic is a must. Why? Because I have these. And I can shoot iron, no problem. Well, no, small problem. It's slower. That's it. That's the problem. It's slower. Once you learn how to shoot with red dots, it's almost, I mean, it's night and day. Hmm, but you can ask Sarge about that one, Playboy. I can neither confirm nor deny about the JTTC. But they do sell a tool for you to put that into a vise without damaging it, so you can properly put it in. And yeah, they do sell shims, so they probably do have to be timed. So yep, and like Sarge said, exactly, you do have to time them. So hey, there's that. But anyway, back to sights and optics. Do you run? I can't remember if you, how many of your bills do you run optics on, Hawkeye?
It's at least half of them.
Okay.
Being old and can't see, I kind of like the red dots or
Yeah, I
a
love
green
them.
dot. I pretty much put those on my rifles, on my pistols. I do shoot a lot. Now I do have some 22s that have open sights, but then again, it's all how you train.
Mhm.
Like my 22s and stuff, I'm just plinking around the house, or I pull up to a target and just bam, bam, bam. I'm not using sights. I
Okay.
just, I've drawn
You do
and
more
point.
kinesthetic shooting.
Yeah, draw and point with your
Yeah.
finger so much that if you get real familiar. But this is the thing: being able to shoot like that, you need to use the same pistol all the time. Uh, Now, when I start changing up pistols, then I got to start sighting. Uh,
Gotcha.
but these little guns, I mean, I, I don't know. The best just draw and shoot was shooting roosters running out of a barn. 5 of them, I took 4 of their heads off with a 22, just not even aiming, just boom, boom, boom. But that's just, I carried that gun for 20 some years, so
Hmm.
I knew how to shoot it. I could shoot
Yeah.
rats running off the rafters and not even aim. Uh,
Nice.
but shooting,
I ain't at that point yet.
I ain't that point now either. I'm telling you, that was a long time ago. Now I use my red dot and I concentrate on what I'm doing. Uh,
Yeah,
but
I just
it's all how you train yourself to shoot and how you're comfortable with what you're looking at. And red dots are really nice because you can use both eyes. Uh,
yeah, I love it.
and that's the way
Um,
I've always shot, was with both eyes open.
and yeah, I mean, it just speeds up the process of, being able to get on target. I constantly, when I go to the range and I have some downtime between students, I test my speed with both hands, with just being able to load and get on target in 6 seconds. And I probably would blow to 6 seconds every time if I had to use iron sights. It just,
6 seconds
it,
wouldn't work, dude.
yeah, exactly.
I used to shoot a
Exactly.
match this before everything got fancy. We called it bowling pins, and we went to the local, bowling arena, and they would
Mhm.
always throw these bowling pins away. So we'd take 5 bowling pins, put them on a table. You were about 15, 20 foot away, and you had to pick your gun up off the table and bam, bam, bam. And you were timed on how long it took you to knock 5 bowling pins down.
Well,
If if
were
you
the
couldn't
guns
be
already
under,
loaded?
huh?
Were they already loaded?
Yeah, sitting on the table in front of
See, I'm
you.
talking about picking them up, loading, and then shooting.
Okay, that might take a second or two, but shooting those
My
matches
average
we
my
were in,
average is 3.5 seconds to get the first round off.
shooting those bowling pin matches, if you weren't under 4 seconds, you weren't in the money.
Yeah.
It's just,
Well, I mean, adding having to put the mag in, and rack the slide adds a little degree of difficulty.
yeah. All we had to do was rack the
And I'm at,
safety off.
now with the kinesthetic shooting, I can shoot without aiming into a 9-inch circle at 10, 12 yards. But now I'm down to 3-inch circles. So it gets a little harder when you start making that circle a little smaller.
Yeah,
So, I absolutely have to use that red dot on that 3-inch circle, or I won't hit it at all.
yeah.
Or green dot, as it were. Um, Let's see what's he saying. Sight mark, mini shot, M spec, M2, M3 solar enclosed red dots just came out and are same price range as Kraken. Okay. All right. Yeah, we a company named Gideon just dropped. I think they dropped them like a month or two ago, but AIM Surplus just got them in, and they have a closed emitter for $199. And it looks just like a between the, it looks like the Acro and the Swamp Fox had a baby. Or the Acro and the Steiner just had a baby. So, but I was thinking about trying one out, getting one on a Cordova, trying it out, see how it works. Yeah, the only thing I don't like about it, it sits really, really high. They even have one that looks like the SRO, which is open emitter. So they have closed emitter, open emitter. And for those of you who don't know, and I know the people in the chat right now, all of you know, the closed emitter is when your emitter is inside and it can't be affected by rain or dirt or dust or so on and so forth. Whereas the open emitter, if you look in the hollow sun at the top there, you can look inside and the emitter can be affected by dirt, dust, debris, and so on and so forth, which is why if you have an open emitter optic, then you should absolutely, before you leave the house, clean your optic, blow it out, make sure you get as much dirt and debris off of the glass, because if you should happen to use it and there's dirt and debris on the glass and you, for some reason, cannot see that dot because you have it turned down so far, whatever the case is, seconds mean everything.
Yeah.
So it could mean your life. So definitely keep it clean. I'm going to grab one of those Steiners soon as I had an opportunity. Classic Firearms had the Steiner for $389 about a month ago, and I was a little tight on cash, and I really didn't want to put it on the credit card because that's a $600 optic in most cases. You can usually find them somewhere around high fours to six, to high fours to high fives, and I think DeVore had it last week for $405. And I just couldn't bring myself to pay the extra $15 plus the DeVore shipping is super high. DeVore shipping is like $10 or something like that. So I was still looking at spending $430 after it was all said and done with tax. I said, well, I'll wait and see if Classic Firearms brings it back down to $389, and then I will get a Steiner. If you have not looked through the glass of a Steiner, if you have the opportunity to, everybody talks about Trijicon's glass. I kid you not. When I went to a Glock Armorer school, the instructor had a Glock Gen 5 with a Steiner on it. I looked through it. I could see the dot, but I could not see the glass, no matter what angle I put it at. You could not see. There was no reflection from any of the lights in front or back of the Steiner glass. I was like, holy cow. I was like, I got to have one of these, but I don't want to spend $600 for it. So when people tell you there's a difference between the glass on one and the glass on the other, that's absolutely true. Because I guarantee you, my Swamp Fox Justice, I have my rear sight mounted in front of it. And when I'm at the range, because of the reflection of the light behind me, I cannot see that rear sight through the glass, because it's reflecting that fluorescent light behind me.
Do you carry, when you carry your weapon, do you have one with a red dot?
Green dot.
Green dot.
I have the Swamp Fox Justice on everything I carry.
Yeah. Now, if I'm carrying one outside the waist in a holster, I'll carry my red dots usually, or my 22s. But if I'm concealed carrying behind my back, I don't have a red dot.
See, I carry at 3 o'clock. I can't reach behind my back. I carry at 3 o'clock, and I don't even feel it.
Yeah.
Even when I'm sitting down for hours, when I was doing Uber, I wouldn't even feel it.
Yeah. Well, so,
a big problem for me.
That's the thing about carrying. You carry so much that for me anyway, I like a small light gun. I carry a 911 and a 380.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't weigh much more than my wallet, and it's got to where a lot of times I have to feel back there to see if it's still there because I'm so used to carrying it. And
Yeah. Yeah, that it gets that way sometimes for me too. I go, oh, is it there? It's because I'll be driving and forget it's there, and I'm like, did I leave it at home?
yeah.
Of course, when I get out the car, I can feel it, just from the weight of it. But sitting down, sometimes I'll lose, thought because it doesn't feel it. So,
See, that's the thing. But by the time I have a belt
yeah,
with my knife on it, I have my keys on it, and I have my weapon behind my back on it, and sometimes I'll have a phone clipped onto it, and I got no butt. I'm trying to figure out how to hold all this stuff up and not pull
yeah,
my pants down.
I resemble that remark as well, sir. I have to tighten my belt up quite often, just to make sure I don't lose my pants. So yeah, Playboy free ship on Devore or ship free. I have that too, but it doesn't always work. It depends. Sometimes it depends on what you're buying, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm definitely, guys, take note of that. Free on Devore is free ship, or ship free. One of those two should work. But I have had instance where they say it doesn't work for that particular product, but it does work for others. So thanks, Playboy, for that update. Playboy says the Trigicon, new Trigicon RCR is sick. It's okay. I mean, the features are it's feature rich for sure. But again, it's over $600. So my little pockets can't take that. Yeah. If I catch
I'm cheap.
Yeah, I can't justify that unless I have an absolute reason for it, or I come into some money and I just feel like spending it. I'd rather spend that money on better slides and barrels, because but the glass is probably great on it for sure. But again, if I can get something with better glass within my price range, absolutely. Ancient order, when I started appendix carry, I always worried about shooting. Jesus. That's why I don't appendix carry. Other than that, and my stomach won't allow it.
That's why I carry one around my butt. I ain't got a butt to shoot off. So.
All right. So the next thing that I wanted to cover, and it's a part of number one, and it's the sights. Because if you update your if you put an optic on your gun, if you want to be able to use iron sights, you're going to have to upgrade your iron sights. Or if you don't want to put an optic, you still might need to update your sight. If you have a Glock or anything factory that has these just white dots, you should absolutely be looking to upgrade those sights. So you might not want an optic, so you want something standard height. Either go with tritium filled or fiber optic, because again, you don't know when you're going to get into a gunfight. It might be at night, okay? Might be dusk or whatever. You still need to be able to see. The one reason I tend not to use fiber optics on anything I carry is because, again, if it's dark, that fiber optic does nothing for you. The tritium is going to glow, okay? The fiber optic's not going to do anything for you unless it has light to be able to be charged by. Now, if you're in an area inside or whatever, or you're in a well-lit area at night, it might work for you. But honestly, you probably should have night sights on there. And some people like to run suppressor height sights with tritium. To me, if I have an optic, I don't want any other light source to interfere with me looking at the dot, because that can pull your focus. It can definitely pull your focus. And if you have to look at, I have a student right now, and he might be watching. And if you're watching, yeah, I'm going to talk about you. He's insistent on having a laser. I'm like, why do you want a laser and you're running a red dot? Well, I just feel comfortable with the laser. I said, you don't feel comfortable with the red dot? I said, take the red dot off then, because you're going to have two different points of impact depending on where the target is. Well, that's the I've been running into a problem. I've been trying to zero this laser. The red dot is zeroed, but I'm trying to zero the laser and I can't get it to hit at the same point of the. I said, you're not going to.
Never.
I said,
You're
not going
to. Laser. The only time a laser work is on a shotgun and you're shooting it from your hip.
I'm like, even if you put that thing in a vise and you aimed it at the target at 20 feet and you somehow got that laser dialed in to hit where where your head is, because if your head moves, the red dot's going to move. So it's not like it's going to sit still. But even if you should happen to get that thing on point, as soon as that target moves a foot forward or a foot back, is going to hit somewhere different.
Yeah, I messed with one for a long time trying to get it to shoot right. And I said, these things are junk. But the only thing that I just got a shockwave. I put a O-light on the front with a green laser so I can hold it at the hip and I can shoot somebody on the other side of the room.
Well, now I have one laser, and that was on my Taurus G2C, just because I didn't have a light-bearing holster. And I had a custom holster made at the time, and I really wanted a laser at that time. But it's the only one I have. I think they sent me, Olight sent me, what did they send me? Oh, they sent me the Balder S, and I think Weapon has that now for his new build. Just because I just didn't want a laser. It just doesn't make sense to run a red dot and laser at the same time.
No.
Now, you want to have it as a backup if your red dot goes down, feel free. Or if you think you might be shooting from the hip, feel free. But that's just my opinion on that one. But definitely upgrade your sights no matter what gun you get. I have a Canic with some upgraded tritium sights. I haven't upgraded the sights on my equalizer yet because I'm throwing a red dot on that. So once I throw the red dot on there, I'll throw some suppressor height sights on there as well. But other than that, everything I've built has suppressor height sights. I'm partial to the blackout sights by Strike Industries. I like the way they look. So, but that's it for our number one. But we do have a couple of honorable mentions, and then we're going to wrap up with that. So the first honorable mention, which is we're counting down. If you want to improve your shooting, try improving your ammo, because if you're shooting junk ammo, it makes a difference. Okay. And you see all these, steel match grade or anything like that. Again, don't take the box's word for it. Go shoot it. It might be expensive to shoot, but do you want to be accurate or do you want to be cheap? So, you say, I only run IR lasers for active aiming under nods. That's the only use for lasers. Hey, that's some people like them. Like I said, I own one, but I can't say that I've ever used it. It's just on there. It was a nice novelty for a little while. I've never even zeroed the damn thing. So that tells you that.
I stripped the screws out in one trying to zero the thing in so many times.
Yeah, I never even zeroed it. I just kept shooting irons and didn't worry about the laser. And it's one of those that as soon as I grip it, the laser comes on, but I just ignore it. Even now, that's my wife's office gun. So if anybody comes in the house, she's in her office and I'm not home. That's hers. So, but anyway, ammunition. I mean, everybody has their opinion on ammo. I've never shot any of this ammo on this screen. Haven't shot any of them. This is just to show you that your ammunition could be your source of the issue. Okay. But I guarantee you, above everything else we talked about, and Sarge said it at the beginning, the number one is to train and fix the shooter. That's the number one, and it's an honorable mention only because we're talking about upgrades to the gun. But no matter how many upgrades you do to the gun, you still may shoot like crap, because guess what? Your grip might be crap. Your stance might be crap. Your sight picture might be crap. So why not fix yourself? Train, train, train. And Sarge, I know we all have that same thing. That's the number one for all of us. Even I guarantee you, Nas said the same thing when we were coming up with this subject. Weapon said the same thing, and Hawkeye said the same thing. Absolutely. Number one, as far as anything about shooting, you have to fix the shooter. Your gun will far outshoot you way
every
before.
time.
Every time your gun comes, like he said, you shoot when it comes out the box, it should be a tack driver.
Unless it is a tack driver.
Unless it's a heat cannon. You know.
and when we say train, it's not just getting at the line and shooting your pistol over and over and over again. You have to work on stuff like building up the muscles in your arm to be able to hold out there and steady and not shake. You have to be able to control your breathing. You have to work on your stance, how you stand, how you move. I mean, it's all one. It's not just shooting your pistol over and over and over.
Yes, Sarge. If you lean too far forward, yeah. But I use the isosceles stance. And I definitely shoot a lot better using the isosceles stance than the Weaver stance. It's just me. Everyone has their own way of shooting. And
how you grip one thing, two hands or one hand. I mean,
just like I tell my class, when they go into the range, we tell them point blank, look, we don't have time to give you a one-on-one session on how to shoot. If you're a new shooter, we're going to give you some pointers on how to shoot. And most new shooters, they do very, very well because they don't have any bad habits. Older shooters that have been shooting all their life, they have these bad habits, but they think they're good, and they have trouble hitting the target at 20 feet. But we tell them straight up, if you have shot before, we're going to let you shoot the way you normally shoot. If you're hitting the target, we're not going to say anything. As long as you're hitting the prescribed target that we want you to hit at 20 feet. However, if you're not hitting the target, we're going to help you, and this is how we're going to help you. And we show them the proper grip that should help them and the proper stance. However, everybody has their own idea. The one thing I don't like to see is the people that want to lean back, all the way back, trying to see from here, and it just. And then wonder why they're not hitting the target. So before we even get to the range, we tell them to be open to instruction because the gun that they're going to shoot works. It's very, very few times that they come on the range, use one of our range guns, and it don't work. Like yesterday, I had a Ruger Mark IV 22 long rifle that every other round it had a light primer strike. So obviously that was the gun, and it wasn't hers. Her grip was fine. It wasn't that she was limp wristing it or anything like that, and that would cause a stovepipe, not a light primer strike. But it's very rare that the gun is the problem. Like Darth Dav just said, guns are usually more accurate than the shooter. That's absolutely true. Absolutely. If you put it in a vise and aimed it and pulled the trigger with a string or whatever, it's going to hit exactly where that target is as long as the gun doesn't pop out of the vise. But your hands, like Hawkeye was saying, your hands are shaking. You're gripping too hard. You're gripping too firm. Most times I see people, they can't hit the paper because they're shaking because they're gripping it so freaking hard that they're getting white knuckles and their arms are getting fatigued and everything. I'm like, dude, calm down.
Yeah, there's a difference. And when you're shaking, a lot of people think if I grip harder, well, that's not the problem. The problem is your arm muscles.
Yeah.
And you're nervous and your breathing's wrong. If you practice breathing, goes a long way to controlling shaking. You have to be able to relax yourself and breathe and then hold that breath and then take your shot. That works as long as your arm is built up enough. But it's real easy. You can take weights. I used to take a milk jug with water in it and just hold it out and hold it out and hold it out and then increase the water and hold it out. Build those muscles up. And after a point, you'll be able to grab this little pistol and it's just nothing to you. And you can hold it out there, take your breath, relax yourself, and you're steady. But these are all things that you got to work up to before you can even shoot consistently and hit a target.
Yeah. It's just
and then you start worrying about what kind of ammo you're shooting, and then start worrying about how I can take a pie pan group and make it into a jar lid group, but the first thing is you. Start with you, and then you can gradually work yourself, because you have the most inconsistencies there is in shooting.
For sure. And hopefully those who are watching this and make it to hear that the number one thing is you.
Yeah.
Period. You are the X factor.
Have you guys gone to the bars and threw darts? It's all about consistency of throwing a dart. It's the same thing in shooting. If you can't be consistent in the way you stand and grip and shoot, you're never going to be accurate.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. Well, that pretty much sums it up, guys. I mean, it just, all of these things, and we could have went on with different things. We were talking about recoil springs, and you could talk about lights and everything else, because again, if you improve your light, you can be able to aim better. But these are the small things that, you can do. And again, the biggest thing that you can do is train.
Those things are confidence builders.
Well, confidence, yeah, but I mean, it's just like anything, Hawkeye. We can't choose when things happen.
Yeah, but what I mean by confidence is, let's talk about the lights. Let's say you got a cheap light that barely, shines.
Mm-hmm.
If you could upgrade that light to one that shines further out, it gives you that confidence. Oh, now I can see. Well, that's way down the line from building your confidence up from standing at the line and shooting.
Well, true. But I mean, just like Angry Sarge was saying, your stance sometimes has little to do with how well you shoot as well. I've watched, watching different videos because
as long as it's a comfortable stand for you.
Right. So, I mean, like I said, we could have talked about several other things. I mean, and we could talk about things that we do customized wise that will help the gun. You know what I mean? The different parts and the different things. But for the layman, for the person that doesn't build like we do, what can they do? What can they have done? I mean, because they may not be able to change their own trigger, but they can go to a gun shop and have a gunsmith. Hey, can you put this Glock performance trigger in for me? Can you do the stipple for me?
But an average guy can work on his breathing.
Absolutely.
His grips.
Everyone can train.
And working up on your arm strength and your shoulder.
Everyone can train on their own. Absolutely. So anyway, guys, we are going to get out of here. It is 11:06. We appreciate you all staying and hanging out with us, giving us your input. I'm just excited to just be here another week. We'll be back here in 2 weeks' time. Whatever the date is, 2 weeks from today, we'll be here, and we'll have another subject coming up, and we'll let you know what that is. Probably within the week or so, we'll let you know what that is. If you have any suggestions, please feel free. Go to the forum, check us out, put the suggestion up there, so we can definitely get going. So, guys, we thank you. We'll see you in 2 weeks. On behalf of Hawkeye, Nas, and Weapon XYZ, we'll see you later. Deuces.